Let's not go into existential questions for this video. Let's just keep it to reading. Hi guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sneha and welcome to the mid-year book freakout tag for 2022. So this is a tag which is very popular on BookTube right about this time of the year. My entire subscriptions page is filled with people who are doing this exact challenge, and I did this last year as well, and I thought it was a good means to kind of sit back and reflect on how the year of reading has been, because I am too flustered to think about how the year in life has been, but anyway, let's just keep to reading for this video. But yeah, I thought it's a good way to sit back and reflect upon how the year has been in terms of reading and how the coming up half year would also be in terms of reading. So yeah, let's get started. Before we start with the questions of the tag, if I'm looking down, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my laptop which has all my stats and trivias and all of that. Before we start with the tag questions, I thought I'll just tell you about the stats of this year. How many books I've read, how many pages, what kind of books have I been reading, all of that good stuff. Of course, you can use Storygraph to catch all of these reading trends. There are quite a lot of helpful graphs that the app has. But I also have developed like a Google Sheet for myself just because I like doing it, and that's what I'm going to be referring to right now. I have so far read 27 books. My target for this year was 60 books, so I'm one book off target apparently, but hopefully I will catch up soon. I have read a total of 9,237 pages so far. Then coming up to the three main charts, I've read 20 female authors and 7 male authors, which is very normal for me. I've read 23 fiction books and 4 non-fiction books, again very typical to me. So let's move on now to the questions of the tag. The first question is, what is the best book that you've read so far in 2022? Now, I don't know how readers can limit themselves to just one book for this question, because I could never do that. So I have 3 books for you. First book is Coming Out as Dalit by Yashika Dutt. This is a non-fiction memoir that I read, I think, in February. And I have raved and cried over this book pretty much on that particular wrap-up, which I'll link up above. Absolutely loved this book. I read this as part of a book club on Instagram, and the discussion that we had was also very good and very thought-provoking, I thought. And just this book made me cry and angry, and just it made me aware of my own privilege. So amazing book, highly recommend, so do check it out. I think this year so far I've done pretty comprehensive reading wrap up, so that's why I don't want to go into too much about any of these books, so I'll quickly mention it and move on so that this video is not like 30 minutes long. The next two books are actually fiction books. The first one is A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mistry. Absolutely loved this book. I'll tag the wrap up above if you want to check it out. I think I read this in January, and this is a story set in the emergency in India, and it is a classic Indian fiction that I have seen so many people recommending, and I'm only just joining the bandwagon, so absolutely must read. Then the other book is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. I absolutely loved this book. This is a classic science fiction novel with a pure human touch and human element. I almost cried over this book, I think, and I absolutely loved this. Again, I'm going to tag the video up above where I raved about this book. Do check it out. But yeah, those were the 3 best books for me in 2022. The next question is, what is the best sequel that you've read so far in 2022? Now, I'm not a fantasy person, I'm not a YA person, I'm more of a contemporary lit fic person, so I don't usually read a lot of sequels, but there is one series I've read till its completion, and I'm so happy to have discovered this series, and I finished the last book in 2022, so I have an answer to this question, and that is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. Oh my god, this book, it broke my heart. It made me fall in love with such a grey, unlikable character. It made me fall in love with the way that the author depicted colonialism and this god savior complex that colonialists have, I don't know if that's a word, and how much of abuse and vitriol that they put on natives just so that they can, bend towards their ideals. And Absolutely love this book is full of trigger warnings, by the way. There are a lot of gory things which happen, lot of abuse, lot of like really dark things, because it is set in a war. But I loved this is the third book in the Poppy War series. This is one series that I will always recommend if anybody is looking to read like a fast-paced, gritty adventure, hard to read but also hard to put down kind of series. So absolutely love this sequel. Do check it out. The next question is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to? Now I have two books in this question. The first one I actually own a physical copy of, and that is To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. This is a chongster, like it is tall and fat. So I don't know when I'll get to this book, but I read A Little Life, I think last year or the year before. I think in 2020 I read A Little Life. I mean, I went through the same emotions that everybody else went through. It was heartbreaking, it was horrible, it was trauma porn after a point, but I loved the writing of the author. And when I realized that she's written a new novel, I had to buy it. This is, I think, kind of like a multi-generational kind of tale. I don't know too much and I want to go into it without knowing too much, because I read A Little Life thinking that it was like a story between four friends, and it is, but it really is not. So that's what I'm hoping for when I finally maybe will delve into this book later on in the year. Another book that I really want to read, which I think is a 22 release, is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. Now I don't still own it. I don't want to own it until I make some dent in the unread book stack that I have on this bookshelf. But I've read two books of Emily St. John Mandel till now. I've read The Glass Hotel and I read earlier this year Station 11, both of which I absolutely loved. And those are the kind of novels that you fall into and then you are just occupied for the rest of your day. And that's the kind of novels that I'm really in the mood for on most days. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. It is another science fiction story, and it is another, like, I think spaceship kind of themed kind of story. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one as well. And I've heard great things about it from a lot of people. So the question is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of 2022? I'm not usually one who follows like the upcoming releases kind of list. That there's one book that I'm really excited to read. I'm pretty sure I'm going to buy it as soon as it releases. It is Babbly by R.F. Kuang. Again, because I just love how she writes these series and like these complex worlds, that I am so looking forward to her new novel. This, I think, is a translation school setting, which is, I think, is so unique. It is a historical setting, of course, but it has this place which is like a school for learning of translations and silver making, and then it ties in with Oxford. I'm not really sure, but the little I know, I'm really excited. Dark Academia, I think, really needs some R.F. Kuang touch in it, and this book I'm really looking forward to. So yeah. Then the next question is, what book has been your biggest disappointment this year? Now, every wrap up of mine, every monthly wrap up, I have this slide where I like rank which is the biggest disappointment of that particular month. And so far in the past 6 months, I think one book really stands out, but just because of how much I was looking forward to reading it, and that is The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. I am very disappointed with how disappointed I am with this book. It was sold to me like a road trip kind of story, set on the eponymous Lincoln Highway, but it really ended in like a few chapters, and then it was like this madcap kind of adventure with too many characters who really did not make too much impact. Only one character in this book, the 9-year-old Billy, I think is his name, really stood out for me. I fell in love with that character, but apart from that, this book really disappointed me, and yeah, sorry to say. Question number 6, what book has been the biggest surprise this year? I think I am going to give this one to Galatea by Madeline Miller. Purely because I am just surprised at myself for liking a short story that much. Like, this was my best read for that month. I think this was April. And I'm just really surprised that a short story managed to click that well with me, because I'm usually like a long form novel kind of person, because I like storylines and character and development and like chonkiness of text and all of that. And this was only 32 pages, and yet it had so much. I mean, it's a masterful job by the author. So absolutely, it had to be Galatea by Madeline Miller. I just love that book so much. Next question is, who's your new favorite author? New to you or a debut author? I looked for the answer to this question quite deeply. I have read a few new to me authors this year, but not a lot of them have made an impact with me. Really nothing stood out so far. I have read a few new authors, but I've also read one work at least of them previously. But I know for a fact that I love Emily St. John Mandel now. I liked the first book which I read, which is The Glass Hotel. I liked it, but I really enjoyed Station 11. So I think for me, I will have to pick Emily St. John Mandel. I feel like I will read everything that she's ever written, probably, going forward, and even her backlist. So yeah, I'm gonna pick her. Next question, who's your newest fictional crush? I am not somebody who has crushes. Like I don't recall any single person in any of the books that I've ever read who I would want to date or who I would want to be with. I don't know why I'm wired that way. I like characters in the book itself, you know what I mean? Like, I like them in the story itself. I don't like to take them out of that story and imagine that I am with them. So I have no answer for this question, unfortunately. I don't think I had an answer for this question last year as well. So yeah. Question number 9, who's your newest favorite character? Now, again, similar to the previous question, I don't usually have a favorite character, but I loved Rin in this book. Oh my god, she's so complicated and she's so grey. Like, you want to hit her on the head for making such stupid decisions, but she's also really lovable. I think that's why she is a very complicated heroine that everybody in the book loves, but also is so frustrated by, and are related with the rest of the characters, because I felt the same way with Rin. So I just loved the sketching of this character who stuck with me way more than most fictional characters do. So yeah. And the one good thing about this book, Billy, the 9-year-old character in this book, is just so perceptive. He's so cute, he's so smart, and genuinely one character, like a child, stood out in a book full of adults. I think for that I'll have to give it to Billy from the Lincoln Highway as well. So yeah, what is a book that made you cry? I don't usually like cry like balls out, bawling eyes out. Maybe I think A Little Life really did make me cry quite a bit, more than usual. But 2 books made me tear up a little bit, which is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes and The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This book is pretty much this book I think I've referenced the most among all the books that I've picked out in a lot of questions. So I love this book, and this book and Flowers for Algernon also. Charlie, the character in this book, who is just going through such a tough time and is still so relatable in so many aspects, I loved. So both these books made me tear up and mist up a little bit. Next question is, what is a book that made you happy? Now, finally, a new addition to the list of books that I referenced so far. This is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. This is a book with sad themes. I'm not gonna lie, there are some really tough things that this book deals with, but the overarching message of hope, I think, in this book really made it work for me. And also there's a librarian, there are books, of course, that is going to always make me happy. So I really loved reading this book. I have not read a lot of chonky books this year that I loved, and this is one of them. And yeah, it's a beautiful novel. Do check it out if you haven't already. I also talked about this in my January wrap up. I think I'll just link my entire playlist of all my wrap ups, because I go into a lot of depth with most of these books. The next question, what is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year? I have bought way too many books this year, I think. But one book which I think is the most prettiest thing is A Portrait of the Artist is a Young Man by James Joyce in this Penguin Deluxe edition. Just this painting in the front is so pretty. Like, look at all the colors and the vividness and all of that. Now, these editions I really love. They are quite expensive, so I'm going to treasure them for a long time. But they have like French flats and they have décolletés and they're just so pretty. I love them. So yeah, okay, we're almost at the end. What book do you need to read before the end of 2022? Tomb of Sand by Gitanjali Shri. This is the winner of the International Booker Prize for 2022. It is the first Hindi translated novel to ever win the International Booker, and I've just heard so many great things about it, and I have started reading it. I'm about 150 pages into it, but it's just, I'm in a difficult state of mind right now, so it's really difficult for me to get into this as much as I would like to. It is funny, it's written in this very like clever kind of way, like it almost like the words almost like, you know, frolic. I don't know if that makes sense, but I love the way this is written. It's just that it is a little too meandering for me right now. I need a book which kind of like I can like jump into and then just like stay there. This book does not allow you to do that. It meanders too much and you get distracted. So I hope to get back to this very, very soon. And I hope to finish this by 2022. But yeah, those are all the questions that I have from the tag. I hope you enjoyed me reminiscing about the year that has been, the half year that has been in terms of reading. I am looking forward to the rest of 2022 to read more, to make more videos, to chat more and all of that lovely stuff. If you're still watching, please like, share, comment, subscribe. It means the entire world to me, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.